It feels like it was just yesterday that we were on this show giving our predictions on who was going to be in the playoffs, who was going to win each division, and who was going to be in the Super Bowl. Well, that was a mere 22 weeks ago. It has been that long in this NFL season since week one of the regular season that here we are now, and it's a Super Bowl. And who is representing in the Super Bowl is not who any of us had on our bingo list or betting list, whatever it may be. But you know what? That's the NFL, and that's absolutely what I love. This is the Super Bowl show, y'all. This is the Snap Count show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Super Bowl special of the Snap Count show, where we dive into everything NFL before the snap. I'm your host, Matthew Roden, and with me today is none other than David Street,
Yo.
Ed Smith,
Hello.
and Thaddeus Lloyd.
Hello.
Well, we've reached the end, guys. Um, the end is near, as famous words of Frank Sinatra. And the Super Bowl is the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. And I would have never expected these two teams to be here at this moment. I'm just being completely honest, not being a hater, but it just shows you how amazing the NFL is and how unpredictable it can be. I know over the last years, yes, it's been the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's been utter dominance, but there's always that next man up mentality, that next team. Who's it going to be? Well, right now it's the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots, and I know that there's a lot of controversy when it comes to one of these teams' resumes, but at the end of the day, you can't hate them because they are here and they're representing their conference in the Super Bowl. It's, I'm just really looking forward to this matchup, and we're going to dive more into this. But Ed, I'll ask you first. Never in a million years would you have predicted, at least this year, the Super Bowl.
Oh, by far not this year. With both of these teams, they are teams that have been somewhat on the rise. You see Vrabel with the Patriots. It's a new era, but trying to go back to the old ways of doing things, which proved very successful in that organization. But then on the other side, you get the Seahawks, who they're creating a new identity under Mike McDonald, which that identity by the end of this year has been solidified. We know exactly who this team is, and it turns out they just needed the trigger man to get them there.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked about that last week when we were talking about the head coaching vacancies and the positions, is that it takes getting the right guy in the right system and for them to bring along their staff that really just makes things click. And we've seen that in both New England and Seattle. But David, on the NFC side of things, this is where things just, I feel like, get crazy to me is going into this playoffs. You wouldn't have guessed that the Bears are there, the Panthers, and I don't want to dog on the Seahawks because here they are in the Super Bowl, but you could maybe include them as well. I mean, wasn't that surprising to you?
In a way, yes. Although I would say that certainly the Seahawks are less surprising than the Patriots. I think we were all in agreement that Mike Vrabel would do a great job with New England. We just thought that would be more in the second or the third year, right? But you look at the Seahawks. I don't remember what the record was 2023. That was the last year prior to Mike McDonald, but I think they had a losing record. But since Mike McDonald has, gotten there, they have improved quite a bit in like all areas of the game. So, did I think that they were going to make the playoffs? Maybe. Did I think that they were going to be the best team in the league and make the Super Bowl? No, I did not think that at all.
Yeah, and especially in that division, it is a very stacked division.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, three of the four teams in that division in the NFC West did
yeah.
make the playoffs. So yeah,
And I assume we're going to talk about him later. I especially did not think that they were going to be the best team in the league and make the Super Bowl with Sam freaking Darnold behind center.
that might be one of the biggest surprises of them all. Thaddeus, before we jump, detail by detail into this game, does it surprise you that right as of right now the Seahawks are a 4.5 point favorite in this game?
No, I don't think it does. As it'll probably be mentioned later by one of us, the Seahawks went through the gauntlet, which was the NFC, right? Now, they played a really battered 49ers team, but they blew them out of the water, right? Playoff tested team, blew them out of the water. Then you played the Rams, which were entering the playoffs a lot of people's favorite to win it all, right? And they beat them in the NFC Championship. When you look at the Patriots, they played the Texans, which had maybe the best defense in the NFL, but that Texans offense was so bad. Specifically, CJ Stroud was so bad. You almost aren't guaranteed to win if the other quarterback turns it over 5 times, right? Then you go to the AFC Championship, and then, as luck would have it, your opposing team's starting quarterback, who's actually been pretty good, I would say, overall, goes out, and you have a backup who's played 4 games ever, and minus conditions still, you were in a dogfight against a really good defense, but you didn't you played a really bad offense, basically, right? So the paths between these two teams has been very different. And the reason the Seahawks are the favorite is because they've had a much harder path to get to the Super Bowl, basically. The NFC was a much more of a juggernaut than the AFC was, even though that's pretty much been the opposite most years because you go AFC, you got Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. None of those quarterbacks made it to the AFC Championship game this year. So you don't have that excuse.
No, not at all. I mean, and it's the final game of the year, so I mean, this is where you have to bring your 100% A game, and that's really what matters. You leave it all out there on the field, but we have to really dive into the game here. There's many layers and aspects to winning a game and to the game itself. And there's no particular order here on the importance, but some might argue the first thing that we're going to start on may actually be the very most important, and that's special teams. This entire postseason has been the definition of why you need to have a great special teams. And we're not just talking about kickers, we're not just talking about punters, we're talking about kick returners, punt returners. There's a lot more that goes to it, and no, not a better person to talk about it than our very own Ed Smith. So, Ed, the floor is yours. Special teams.
Special teams tends to be the forgotten elephant in the room when we're talking about the importance of what's going to happen here. And I with this game in particular, I do find it to be a game where both defenses are going to be somewhat of a stalemate between the two of them. The offenses can be explosive. I think the balancing act here between the special teams could determine this game as a whole. There's a lot to go over in this, but first things first, when we're talking about defenses being a stalemate, the difference is going to be the punting game. And you've got Michael Dixon, who is in his fifth playoff, playoff season since he came to the league out of Texas. And he has had eight, seven of eight of his punts land inside the 20-yard line. That is a long field to go against the Seahawks defense as it stands now. they're having to go 85, 90, 95 yards, that is a mountainous thing to climb. So Michael Dixon has been a weapon in these playoffs. On the flip side, you've got Bryce Behringer punting for the Patriots. While he has had 6 punts inside the 20-yard line, it's out of 19. So what that tells me is that their offense can sputter at times, and they were looking for Bryce to bail them out as far as field position. So that in and of itself leads me to believe that there is an advantage for the Seahawks in the punting game going into this. Now, when we look at the other kicker that is on the rosters, you got Jason Myers versus Andres Borregales. Andres Borregales is a rookie. He is going into this in his first season. There are some nerves there, and in the playoffs, he is he's actually missed 2 field goals, but both of them were from 40 yards out, 40 plus yards out. But those were also terrible weather situations. In the Super Bowl, you're not going to have that type of situation. And during the regular season, uh, he was fairly consistent. Over 40 yards, he was 11 of 15. So there was more than 75% chance he was going to make that kick. So he's got good nerves. He's got good technique. I I'm still going to go with the guy that's been in the playoffs for his fourth time and has seen this type of pressure. Maybe not Super Bowl pressure, but he's been at this level for several years now, rather than his first year in the league. So that makes a huge difference as far as being able to recognize and how to calm yourself in that high pressure of a situation. Now, not many people are going to mention this, but I think it uh, bears saying the Seahawks once again have playoff experience in the long snapper. Chris Stoll, this is his third year in the league, but his first playoff. 3 years in the league, just doing the long snapping gives him, I think, an advantage over Julian Ashby, who's a rookie. So you've got a rookie punter, a rookie long snapper, and I mean, rookie kicker, rookie long snapper, and a punter that is in his first playoff year. So that tells me you are relying on very young talent to be perfect in their operation to score the points that are going to make a huge difference in this game. Now, of all the things that there are definite advantages, disadvantages for, I find that the return game for the Patriots is somewhat pedestrian because between Kyle Williams, Marcus Jones, and Efton Chisholm, they don't do much. They'll do a lot of fair catching. They do not release when they get the ball. Whereas the Seahawks, they picked up Rashid Shaheed midseason from the Saints, and he has been nothing but a game wrecker over the past 4 weeks. When he started the 49ers game with the kickoff return, that game was over. You might as well have just turned the game off because it was done. Between that level of momentum on the Seahawks side and that crowd, that game was over before it even began. So overall, I am going to give a arrow to the Seahawks in this. And bold prediction, I think Rashid Shaheed has the ability to become the second MVP because it all is always going to be that one guy that is not one of the big stars to win the MVP and push their team over the edge in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we very well may see uh, a repeat as far as a moment in Super Bowl history, and that could be an opening kickoff touchdown. We don't know who's going to win the coin
Yeah.
toss. I know there's many bets out there who's going to win the coin toss, but If the Seahawks get the ball first, that's going to be an opening kickoff that you're going to want to have your camera ready for because that's how electrifying he is.
Can I add something? Certainly, it is true that when discussing football, people talk about the offense, they talk about the defense, they talk about coaching, but special teams often don't get talked about a lot. But it is true that they are, special teams is especially crucially important. And I can't think of a better example of how important special teams are than when the Chargers, I believe in 2010, do you guys remember? They actually led the NFL in total offense and total defense, and they still missed the playoffs. Ed, do you remember why?
Uh,
Oh,
Not off my
what
head.
was his name? I know the kicker too. Oh man, I can't
So
remember.
the point being is that even though the Chargers led the league that year in total offense and total defense, their special teams was absolutely terrible, and it cost them a playoff spot. So
Was that
don't ever let
Carney?
anybody tell you that. What's that?
Was that Carney?
No,
Maybe.
it was oh man, he had blonde hair. I remember
Yeah.
who it was too, but yeah.
Yeah, the point is, don't ever let anybody tell you that special teams doesn't matter because the Chargers are proof of that. Great offense, great defense, yet they still miss the postseason.
And I'll
Well,
give you two examples of how these return games in the Super Bowl swung it for the victor. And that is Super Bowl 31 when Desmond Howard, who won the MVP, the only special teams guy to win the Super Bowl MVP, he had a kickoff return in the third quarter to get the Packers back up and take away that touchdown that the Patriots had just scored, and the momentum was there. That game was over at that point. And then uh, in 2000, when the Ravens played the Giants, Jermaine Lewis answers a kickoff return with a kickoff return of his own. And that, in and of itself, these are such big momentum plays that it is difficult to overcome uh, if you are not prepared to do so.
yeah, and don't forget Jacoby Jones for the Ravens against the Niners in the Super Bowl. When the power went out, I mean that was also a momentum swing too. I mean that really put the Ravens in the driver's seat in that game. So it does play a big factor. But one thing that I wanted to add because Ed, you did talk about it, and that is the youth on New England's side on their special teams. But I will say that if it was ever going to be a problem with Mike Vrabel, those players wouldn't be there. So he has trust and faith in his young squad. So that you have to mention that is that Mike Vrabel he's a great coach and he's here for a reason, but he has faith in his young players. Otherwise, he probably would have went after a veteran kicker or someone in the off season. So that's to me is something of note. Um, let's go ahead and talk about one of the more even, matchups in this game, and that's their defense, David. We have to talk about both these teams' defense in this Super Bowl because these head coaches are defensive-minded head coaches. So naturally enough, these teams do have good defenses. So, what about this defenses? Are you wanting to really dive into?
Yeah, so certainly on the surface, these defenses are even. But when you get below the surface, it's not as even as you think it is. But let's go ahead and start off with the surface. So, total defense, the Seahawks are sixth, the Patriots are eighth. Passing defense, the Seahawks are 10th, Patriots are ninth. Rushing defense, Seahawks are third, Patriots are sixth. Scoring defense, the Seahawks led all teams in scoring defense, and the Patriots were fourth. First downs allowed, the Seahawks fifth, and the Patriots ninth. Now, here's where we start to get below the surface, and you see that these teams' defenses are not as even as you are led to believe. So third down defense, Seahawks were phenomenal. They had the best third down defense. The Patriots were 12th. It's barely outside the top 10, so not bad. Now here's where things start to get very concerning. Takeaways, the Seahawks were 6th, the Patriots were 20th. Sacks, Seahawks 8th, Patriots 26th. Now, pressures, because sacking a quarterback isn't the only way to get to him, but when it comes to pressures, Seahawks were 3rd, Patriots 27th. And red zone scoring percentage allowed, Seahawks 5th, Patriots 23rd. So Seahawks were at least top 10 in pretty much every major statistical defensive category. Whereas on the surface, the Patriots are top 10 in total defense, scoring defense, and all that. But when it comes to like the little things that really make up a defense, the Patriots had cracks in their armor, and the fact that they were terrible at getting to the quarterback. I mean, like I said, they were 26th in sacks and 27th in pressures. That is very concerning, especially with the schedule that they played. With the quarterbacks that they faced, they didn't exactly face a murderer's row of quarterbacks. So the fact that they faced that lineup of quarterbacks, and yet they were still terrible at getting to the quarterback, if I was a Patriots fan, I would be very, very, very concerned. And especially when it comes to the red zone scoring percentage, again, the fact that they faced that schedule and yet they allowed teams to score in the red zone at a pretty significant rate is cause for concern. Now, the one thing that the Patriots were very good at was tackling. They had the fewest missed tackles, whereas the Seahawks were below average at tackling. Seattle had the 10th most missed tackles. Then again, I would certainly hope that if you face the kind of schedule that New England faced, I would certainly hope that you don't miss a lot of tackles. Now, let's look at who they faced. So Seattle faced a top 10 scoring opponent 6 times, and they allowed an average of 17.7 points, which is obviously good. New England faced a top 10 scoring opponent only twice, and that was the Bills, by the way. And against the Bills, they have allowed an average of 27.5 points. And by the way, it should be noted that New England did not face any top 10 scoring opponents in the playoffs. So neither the Chargers, nor the Texans, nor the Broncos, none of those teams were top 10 in scoring, right? So as I said, on the surface, yes, they are even. But below the surface, that is where Seattle shines, and that is where New England has a lot of concerns. Now, Seattle being an excellent defensive team should take us down memory lane because, of course, we all remember the early to mid 2010s when their defense was the gold standard. In fact, at one point, they led the league in scoring defense for 4 years in a row, and I think they were only the second team in NFL history to achieve that. So how have they gotten back to that form? Well, it really just comes down to a couple of things. First and foremost, and most importantly, it's their head coach, Mike Macdonald, who I think at this point we should all agree is a defensive guru because we all remember the work he did for the Ravens when he was their defensive coordinator. Now, yes, it is true that Baltimore has dealt with a lot of injuries. Still, that doesn't take away the fact that the last time they had an elite defense was when Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator. Say whatever you want about injuries. Every team deals with injuries. It's not coincidental that the last time he was there was the last time they actually had an above average to great defense, right? Now, Mike Macdonald's first year with the Seahawks was 2024. So 2023, the Seahawks had an absolutely terrible defense, which is not the Seattle standard, especially with what we've been used to seeing from them, right? 2023, they were 30th in total defense, and they were 25th in scoring defense. The next year, 2024, Mike Macdonald's first year with the team, Seattle improved drastically to 14th in total defense and 12th in scoring defense. Now, this year, Obviously, overall, Houston had the best defense if you're just going to measure it by total defense. But some might say that Seattle had the best defense because certainly they led in the category that matters the most, and that is they allowed the fewest points. And how have they done that? Well, it's really a couple things. They the additions of DeMarcus Lawrence, who had an 82.9 Pro Football Focus grade in the regular season, and also had 52 pressures. He did not have a lot of sacks. I don't think. I think he had only 6 sacks, but he did get to the quarterback a lot. Now, when it comes to their draft picks, Nick Emenwari has been absolutely phenomenal. He had a terrific rookie campaign as a second round steal, and he has been sort of a Cam Chancellor reincarnation as he led all safeties in pressures and sacks, and he also led all safeties in passes broken up, and among safeties, he's allowed the fewest receptions. And then just beyond the stats, if you actually watch Emin Wari play, he is always ready to make a play. He is always ready. He's always right there, ready to make a hit, ready to make a tackle. He almost never misses his assignments, and he is no doubt a big reason why Seattle has returned to its dominant defensive form. So the advantage obviously has to go to Seattle because they're at least top 10 in every major statistical category. Whereas the Patriots, even though on the surface they have a great defense, when you look below it, the fact that they were not very good at taking away the ball, and they were absolutely terrible at getting to the quarterback, which, as I said before, is very concerning because, especially with that schedule they faced, yeah, I would venture to say that the Seahawks defense, or not the Seahawks, the Patriots defense, while good, is certainly not as good as we think it is. So advantage, obviously the Seahawks. It's a no-brainer.
Man, I remember like it was yesterday that Seahawks defense back in the 2010s. I mean, Brandon Browning, Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor. It was insane. And you watch the film and the constant flags that were being thrown just because of how much they laid it down, and it just it was awesome to see because that is football, but it's almost like a dying breed because that's when the rules changed a lot.
Yeah, and then let's make something clear here too. Like this Seahawks defense is not the Legion of Boom, not even close. There will never ever be another Legion of Boom. That's like one of those groups that is just so rare, and it only happens once in history. The Legion of Boom, like those guys were great, obviously, but what made them stand out was that they were trash talkers, and they knew they were better than you, and they certainly were going to let you know that they were better than you. This Seahawks defense isn't really, they're not really brash at all, but they're more the kind of unit where they let their play do the talking, right? Whereas the Legion of Boom, they certainly let their play do the talking, but as I said, they were going to let you know that they were better than you. This Seahawks defense doesn't really do that. But while they may not be talkers, certainly not to the extent that LB was, they, as I said, they let their play do the talking, and their play has been talking a great game.
Yeah, I'll never forget the infamous Richard Sherman interview. Um, you
I'm the
know,
best corner in the game. Don't you ever talk about me.
uh, what I'm about to say is not a diss to any of these quarterbacks, but when you see the quarterbacks in the NFL right now, you would have thought, the Super Bowl is probably going to be represented by, probably Mahomes again, or maybe it's Josh Allen's time, or Lamar. Maybe Joe Burrow will be back in the Super Bowl. Yeah, we got neither of those, but that's okay. And before I jump over to Thad to talk about this quarterback matchup, my favorite thing is when you see all the different conspiracy theories online, and we've all heard the Super Bowl logo, whatever the colors are, stuff like that. Well, now it's because since those colors don't match, they have to find another theory, and it's well, if you look at the poster, you see In the front row, the two closest quarterbacks are none other than Drake Maye and Sam Darnold. So they will grasp onto anything. But Thaddeus, there's no diss here on these quarterbacks, but feel free to dish out some facts on them.
Yeah, so it's been it's been a really fun season, and everyone, it was funny because after the Patriots moved on from Tom Brady, and it was like, who's going to be the successor, and they chose Mac Jones, and after Mac Jones's rookie season, they were like, oh, wow, this guy looks pretty good. Like Mac Jones had a decent rookie season, and then it completely fell apart. Now the interesting thing is, why did Mac Jones and the offense fall apart? Josh McDaniels left for the Raiders head coaching job, if you remember. Obviously, that didn't work out for McDaniels. It didn't work out for the Patriots, who I believe had Matt Patricia last year as their OC, which that was not good. But now, well, then they moved on from Mac Jones, drafted Drake Maye. Obviously, the offense didn't do great his rookie year, but he had a couple flashes, including the game-winning touchdown pass toward the end of his rookie season against the Titans. Crazy play, running around for like 10 seconds, chucks the ball up, game-winning touchdown. And like, okay, this kid's got talent. This year, obviously, the Patriots got Mike Vrabel as head coach. Josh McDaniels as returning as the offensive coordinator. Now a lot of people, I think a lot of people can say now McDaniels is an offensive coordinator. He's not head coach material, but he's a really good offensive coordinator. He's done really good. And this year, with the combination of McDaniels and May, this offense, despite not having a lot of weapons like a lot of other offenses, they've produced at a really high level. Now, what you could say is the defensive rankings which they faced this year were not very good. The the Patriots only played 3 top 10 defenses during the season. However, what shows that they are a good offense is they were demolishing their bad opponents, right? That's what you should do to bad opponents. You demolish them. You can only play the teams in front of you. They demolished opponents. Obviously, you played the Jets twice, beat them, with scored 35 they scored 24 and then 41 on them. Just really efficient offense. This offense revolves obviously around Drake Maye. What are his strengths? Well, his strengths are obviously he has very good touch. He is one of the youngest quarterbacks. I think he is the youngest quarterback to lead the league in completion percentage at 23 years old. Yeah, 23 years old at 72% completion percentage, which is really, really good. And it's not just, he wasn't dinking and dunking. He was chucking it down the field. The Patriots, now their offensive weapons aren't the most impressive, you'll say. They have weapons for all 3 levels of the field. You have your intermediate passes. Hunter Henry is an excellent tight end. Now, he's not elite like he used to be with the Chargers, but he's still a really good option. He's their veteran. He's like the Zach Ertz of last year with the Commanders, right? That veteran presence you can just always rely on. Hunter Henry's excellent in the short passes. Then you have Mac Hollins and Stephon Diggs for your intermediate passes. Stephon Diggs is particularly good. Obviously, he's older as well, like Henry. He's lost a little bit of a step, but he's still got that excellent leadership and the veteran experience for intermediate passes. And then you have your deep passes down to Kayshon Boutte and Kyle Williams. And I think Chisholm as well. So for your deep passes, which May and Boutte have had an excellent connection with this year. And May's actually chucked the ball down the field quite a bit this year. He's, I think he was top in the top half of the league in ADOT, so adjusted depth of target, basically. So you have that. You have the passing offense, very, very good. Drake Maye is obviously accurate. And then you have the main component of the offense for the Patriots, which is their run game. You have a 2-headed attack. Ramondre Stevenson and rookie Travion Henderson. Now, everyone was rightfully wondering what the Patriots were doing because earlier in the season, Ramondre Stevenson was fumbling the ball left and right, and they wanted Henderson in, right? However, over the course of the season, Ramondre Stevenson got better. He is their, the ram at running back, basically, the short yard distance gainer. He's kind of like, if you were to compare him to another player, Kareem Hunt or Pacheco from the Chiefs a couple years ago, where you would just need those 3 yards. He would give you those 3 yards every time, basically. And then you have the home run threat in Trayvon Henderson. We've seen a couple times this year where he's had 60-yard touchdown runs, and it's just absolutely electric. When they played the Jets, he had a hat-trick game. That was his first start because Stevenson was out. So you have that really good balance of those two backs, right? And then, on top of that, you have the force multiplier, which is Drake Maye's legs, all right? He's not just a pocket passer. He's also a really, really good scrambler as well. In the Broncos championship game, the championship game versus the Broncos, he had over 60 yards rushing, I believe. And it really helped move the chains because you were not going to pass on that Broncos defense. So they were able to move the ball with Henderson, with Stevenson, and then May also got his own legs moving as well, which was a massive factor into them winning that game and keeping the chains moving. Over the course of the regular season, one stat I really like to look at is third down percentage. The Patriots were 6th in the NFL in regular season in third down percentage at about 43%. Okay? That's the Patriots offense. As far as the quarterback and the weapons, their offensive line, not that great. Now, it was a major improvement over last year's offensive line, which was bottom 5. This year, it's more middle of the pack. They got Will Campbell, who has had his struggles, but he's definitely been one of their better offensive linemen, one of their better options this year so far. They've held up in the run game, and the problem is going to be the pass game. Their weakness is the offensive line and pass pro. If you get the Patriots into a long passing situation, and Drake Maye cannot escape because he, like I said, he does have the mobility, he can escape, which is why they haven't had like a massive sack total. However, if you're able to contain Maye, it might be game over because the Patriots offense, it's a little bit college style. You've got a lot of RPO in there, all right? You obviously have the base run, but then you also have the RPO. If the Patriots cannot get the RPO going, they're going to have to start relying on the, drop back, normal passing attack, and that's just not going to work against a really good Seahawks defense. And the offensive line is going to struggle. In 3 games in the playoffs, Drake Maye took 15 sacks. That's 5 sacks a game, basically, and he lost almost 100 yards due to sacks. That was one of his knocks this year. Really good, accurate, can run, but he did take a little too many sacks. Obviously, he's a younger quarterback. That might just come with the territory sometimes. He's going to learn from it. But that is going to be one of the major weaknesses for this Patriots offense. We're going to go to the Seahawks offense now. Obviously, the big story here is Sam Darnold, the first one from the 2018 class he went to the Super Bowl with the Niners, but he didn't start. This is the first one to actually start in the Super Bowl. But it's been really weird because, everyone expected him, like last year, he was with the Vikings. He stumbled. His last 2 games, stumbled in the last game of the season. They could have got the 1 seed, fell apart. Played the playoff game versus the Rams, fell apart. And like, okay, what's happening with this guy? Seahawks signed him to a fair deal, I would say. And they get way more back than they probably ever could have expected. Now, the Seahawks did, and Sam Darnold did tie the league lead in turnovers, right? But the thing is, the Seahawks offense was really, really efficient this year. And obviously, having a top 3 defense is also going to help you. But having the efficiency to overcome turnovers is massive. In the regular season, third down percentage, they were exactly middle of the league at 16th. They converted third downs 37% of the time. You're like, okay, that's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. However, in the playoffs, I mentioned the Patriots were 6th. Out of the all 12 playoff teams, the Patriots ranked 10th in third down percentage at about 32%, 32 to 37%. The Seahawks were, I believe, Seahawks were the 6th, at 48% basically, third down percentage. That's much improved than the regular season. Now, obviously, I'm going to get into the playoff stats, but I'm going to get into the actual roster. Obviously, Sam Darnold has been turnover worthy, but during these playoffs, 2 playoff games, 0 turnovers. Obviously, blew out the Niners, but then in the Rams game, if Sam Darnold had turned that ball over once, they might have lost it. Obviously, the first meeting with the Rams, turned it over 3 or 4 times. I can't remember now. They lost the game by 2 points. Second time they played the Rams, he turned it over twice. They win by 1 point. Turned it over 0 times the third time, right? They win by 4 points. So it was a massive thing for him not to turn the ball over, to be an efficient quarterback, and that's really how they won the NFC Championship. With the run game, all right? You used to have, during the regular season, you had Kenneth Walker. Well, it's actually kind of funny because both, statistically speaking, both run games from the Patriots and the Seahawks were very comparable. They almost had the same amount of yards, same amount of touchdowns. The Patriots had a little bit more yards per carry, but the Seahawks had a couple more rushing touchdowns than the Patriots did. But these 2 run games were very comparable because you had Stevenson is the Patriots' Ram at running back. The Seahawks used to have kind of Zach Charbonnet as theirs, but he injured his ACL, I believe, against the Niners. It didn't matter, though, because Kenneth Walker just took the load in the NFC Championship game, mass-produced with 3 touchdowns in that game. So 2 touchdowns, sorry. So Walker alone could probably handle most of it. Their second-string running back is George Holani. He doesn't have a lot of stats out there, but he seems to be just a decent player. But this is mostly going to be Walker's game. He is the explosive running back who half the time he can't see the hole, but if he does see the hole, he can just reverse field and just boom, 50-yard touchdown, kind of like Travion Henderson. They're very similar players, although Walker's more experienced, has a little bit more of catching ability than Henderson does, I think. But those are the run games. Receiving game. Seahawks have Jackson Smith and Jigba, the league leader in receiving yards. During the season, he was spectacular, all right? And good on Tom Brady. Tom Brady's getting a little bit better at the commentating. And it was interesting hearing him during the championship game where he doesn't move his hips when he's doing his routes. So you can't tell which route he's doing. Excellent route runner, has the ball skills for the intermediate and long passing game. He's almost unstoppable. I cannot wait for the Smith and Jigba versus Gonzalez matchup in this game. The number 1 corner for the Patriots, if they decide to do it, which I assume the Patriots will have him on. Then your number 2 receiver is Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper Kupp has been a little bit injury prone the past couple of years, so he was let go by the Rams. Some reports saying, the Rams wanted him to retire. He didn't do that. He signed with his hometown team, the Seahawks, and he became a really good contributor for them, and even, got a touchdown in the championship game. He's just, kind of like Diggs for the Patriots, right? That veteran presence who can get you those intermediate routes, has also a little bit of a step, but he's still the same excellent route runner that he was, a couple of years ago. And then you have Rashid Shaheed, who has impacted both not only the special teams, which Ed talked about, but he also impacted the offense because he's technically their third receiver. NFC Championship, first pass 60-yard bomb to Shaheed right away, right? He didn't get a lot of action the rest of the game, but that set the tone for the rest of the game, basically. So you have impact guys for all three of your main starting receivers. And then also, you do not want to forget about Jake Bobo. Jake Bobo, the franchise favorite, will probably get a touchdown at some point. He just has a way of finding the end zone this year. And then lastly, the Seahawks offensive line. You're going to have a really good unit who's been top 10, I believe, in offensive ranking. Really good in the rush. Really good at the pass as well. They aren't elite at both, but they're very good. They're top 10, not top 5, I would say, in both categories. So just yeah, also with the drafting, which John Schneider has done, fixing the O line, getting in Jigba, getting Sam Darnold into there, obviously drafting that defense with Mike McDonald had just made them such a complete team, right? We all thought the Rams were the complete team in the playoffs because we didn't trust Sam Darnold. Well, Sam Darnold, I mean, other than Stafford, was chosen probably to be the most reliable quarterback of all of them, surprisingly enough. He's been really, really good in the playoffs. So that's pretty much going to be the matchups. The Seahawks' weakness, though, on offense is if they don't get that run game going, you don't want to rely too much on Sam Darnold, right? You have to keep on running the ball, which is what Clay Kubiak was doing, right? Even when the Seahawks were down, they were still running the ball, which still allowed Sam Darnold to do play action. He's an excellent play action quarterback. The Kubiak system really worked for him this year, and it's going to continue to work, I think, in this Super Bowl. But the only way is to try to pressure Sam Darnold and you have to stop the run, basically. Everyone thinks it's, about these big, quarterbacks, who came in for the first time. It's about that trench warfare. Whoever team stops the run game first and stops the momentum, because momentum is going to be one of the biggest things in this whole game. Whoever stops the run first is going to win this game.
Yeah, I think that's really where it needs to be said, is down in the trenches, is, who can control that matchup the most, I think is really going to have the edge. We know that these quarterbacks are going to find their receivers at certain points within the game, especially when you have explosive ones like Jackson Smith and Jigba. But it's all about what's happening within the trenches. And this game is going to provide very, very key matchups to really keep an eye out on, and Thaddeus, you honed out on on several of them, such as the Jackson Smith and Jibga versus Christian Gonzalez, or which running back duo is going to have the most rushing yards by the end of this game, and the head coaches. This is going to be a chess matchup between these two head coaches, especially both being defensive minded coaches, but I think Seattle, where they end up having the edge, is having Kubiak there. This could very well be his last game there, or this is his last game there as offensive coordinator, as he'll be the head coach for the Oakland Raiders. Oh, there I go saying Oakland again, for the Las Vegas Raiders. So you're going. I think he's going to have a big impact in this game. But I love numbers, and I love seeing the kind of the intangibles and just interesting facts, and one of them is the Seahawks. Their entire playoff is just the two games, and it was against teams in their division. So this was the third time that they played the Niners and the third time they played the Rams. Yes, does that give them an advantage, or does that give them a disadvantage in this Super Bowl, now not playing a division opponent? Another thing is the Patriots are undefeated on the road this year. All their losses taking place at home. Yes, this game is in Santa Clara, but they are classified as the home team this year. However, though, the uniforms they chose are their road uniforms. And these specific ones, they are 5-0 in. So that's another just something to keep an eye out on. And my favorite number of the game is 66%. That is the percentage they are giving Chris Collinsworth to mention Patrick Mahomes' name at some point during this Super Bowl. It is a given. It really is, folks. And I think it's which quarter does he say it in, or does he say it before the game? So that's something to just keep an eye on, just to have fun. Any other points before we get into the predictions, guys? Nope, Ed, you're muted.
I think it's interesting that you're going to either have Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito get a Super Bowl ring.
Someone's got to get him. I mean, Kenny Pickett took the game-winning snap last year.
Kenny Pickett, Super Bowl champion.
And you mentioned numbers before. With this Super Bowl, the Patriots will have been in 20% of all played Super Bowls since it started in 1967. That is an insane number, and just goes to show just, top down culture in the building, leads to success on the field.
Yeah, we've seen many great franchises in the NFL. I mean, even before there were Super Bowls, the Green Bay Packers, with the many championships they have, the Pittsburgh Steelers for a while, were that franchise to be chasing. The Cowboys had a great decade. The Niners had a great decade, and now it's just been the Patriots. So the Patriots are that team that you are, chasing when it comes to these records, especially in the postseason and the Super Bowl. So they have that standard there, and now that they don't have their franchise quarterback in Tom Brady and their head coach in Bill Belichick, they're still in the Super Bowl. So that just shows you what they're doing is right.
You know who is especially pissed off? Bills fans. Because think about how they feel, right? Tom Brady is finally retired. The Patriots are back to irrelevance. Now we're dominating the division. Josh Allen, we've got the best quarterback in the division. Well, not only have they not made the Super Bowl in the Josh Allen era, but New England comes back as a dominant team, and now they're like, not only do they win the NFC East, and now they're back in the Super Bowl. So literally the perfect time for the Bills to take over and make the Super Bowl and all that completely wasted.
Not wasted just yet, but yes, they had it a little bit easier than they did before. So, all right, Ed, you're gonna be the first one here. We got predictions.
Well, I do find it interesting, and I keep saying that. My apologies. Uh, I do find it a point that this is the first time the Patriots have been this much of an underdog going into the Super Bowl since that first Super Bowl with Tom Brady when they were playing the Rams. This is a game in which almost the entire universe is saying that the Seahawks have every advantage and this should not be a close game whatsoever. The Patriots, according to ESPN Analytics, are 39.3% chance to win versus 60.7 chance for the Seahawks. To me, there's a reason for that because clearly, even though both teams have a somewhat even build as far as a team, we've kind of gone over some of these things that make the Seahawks that much better. And I think in the long run, it's the fact that the Seahawks do have the more explosive players, the players that can change a game at any given point during that 60 minutes on the field, more so than what the Patriots have. The Patriots have resilience, they have consistency, they have a stable way of doing things that will force you to not lose the game more so than actually win the game. But in this scenario, the Seahawks have enough players to go win this game, and I think that they will. This is going to be 29-17 Seahawks.
David, you in agreement? What's your prediction? Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, being battle tested has to matter. And not that Seattle has faced the toughest schedule, but they have certainly faced a much tougher schedule, or yeah, a much tougher schedule than the Patriots have. Congratulations to the Patriots for making the Super Bowl. at the end of the day, you can only face the teams that are in front of you, that are on your schedule. That doesn't take away the fact that you played probably the easiest schedule that the NFL has ever seen. As I told you about the defense, Seattle's top 10 all across the board, and New England below the surface has cracks in its armor that should be cause for concern. I do agree that it's going to be the Seahawks in a victory, but I think it's going to be a lot more lopsided than Ed's 29-17 victory. I don't think this game is going to be close at all. Give me the Seahawks over the Patriots by a score of 42-9. Again, that is 42-9 Seattle.
Thaddeus, do you see it being that big of a lopsided victory?
Not quite that big, but I really do. I've literally I set this score right after the championship games ended. I'm like, this is got to be my score. Let's see if I keep it. In these past 2 weeks, I haven't changed my mind. I think the score is going to be Seahawks winning. Obviously, I've got to take the Seahawks. Seahawks 24-6. I do not think the Patriots can put up any offense against the Seahawks defense. I know Mike McDaniel's a really good offensive coordinator, but this Seahawks defense is way too good, especially if Nick Eamon plays. There was a little bit of an injury scare, but Mike McDonald said he's supposed to play, so we'll see. I don't think the Seahawks are going to put up a ton of points because, again, this is a Mike Vrabel team. They're not going to give you a lot of points. But I think Seahawks just need like one or two plays to go their way, and they could just keep a lead for the game, basically. So give me the Seahawks 24-6.
Yeah, I've had a score similar to yours, Thaddeus, that I've been floating in my head, probably for the last week, and it pains me because one of you guys have said that exact same score, and I'm just gonna have to match with it. I mean, because it's truly what I feel, and I've got the Seahawks winning this game, and I have them winning it pretty easily. Even though the score may not seem like it, but I'm in a complete agreement with Ed. I have the Seahawks winning 29-17. That's the number that has just been screaming in my head for the last week. And they're going to have those 29 points, I think, by the fourth quarter. That's truly how I feel. I think this is going to be a game that we're just going to see dominance by one team for most of the game on both sides of the ball. I mean, off or three sides, however you want to put it, offense, defense, and special teams. And I really like Mike Vrabel, and I still will say, even after this game, that he is the right coach for the Patriots. I think that Patriots are they're just a couple things off from, being, repeating and coming back to the Super Bowl. But give me the Seahawks, though, in this game. They're just going to overwhelm them 29-17. We have a complete sweep here. I just hope that we don't look like utter fools come Sunday.
Who do we have as our MVPs?
It's, in my opinion, it's one of those that it's just like the MVP of the NFL. It's gonna probably be a quarterback friendly. So I'll go with Sam Darnold on this one.
Thaddeus?
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'll do mine last.
Okay.
I already
David.
know. All right.
I'll throw a wild card in there. I'll say DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm going to take a defensive guy to win MVP.
Yeah. Thaddeus is gonna choose either Jackson Smith and Jigba or Kenneth Walker. I already know it. It's gonna be one of those.
Wow,
two.
that takes a lot of effort to think about.
And I've already given you my take on who the MVP of this game is going to be.
Yeah.
It'll be Rashid. It'll be Shaheed taking it from his plays that are on special teams. And there's a good chance that they try and go to him early in the offensive series for the Seahawks, just like they did against the 49ers to, like you said, that is set the tone for the rest of this game.
Okay, so what I was looking up was the current odds right now. So Sam Darnold 1, Drake Maye 2, JSN 3, Kenneth Walker 4, Ramondre Stevenson 5, and then Shaheed is 6. So
Why are they hating on Cooper Cup?
Yeah.
That's what I
yeah,
want to know.
what about my guy Cooper Cup?
All
No,
right, that
if I did take an MVP, I was thinking Shaheed, but I actually gonna take I would take JSN,
yeah.
especially if he gets over 100 yards versus Christian Gonzalez. I really think he might be a lock for MVP.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's something to watch.
a quick question, Matthew, before we end, just out of curiosity. So, you say that you think the game is not going to be at like it's going to be 29-17, and it's going to be a lot worse than the score indicated. So, like, are you saying that you think that the Seahawks are going to get off to a very big lead and then take their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, and the Patriots score a couple of touchdowns to make the game appear closer than it is?
Yeah, I mean, I truly stand by that. I think the Patriots will
Okay,
have pretty much their points by the fourth quarter. So, and then at
gotcha.
that point, I mean, I think that I said Patriots. The Seahawks will have those points, and the Patriots will get some garbage time.
Yeah, and on
Gotcha.
my
Okay.
side, I think this is going to harken back to the first time the Patriots went into the Super Bowl against a heavy favorite. They were playing the Bears in Super Bowl 20. The Bears had scored 44 points before the Patriots got their first touchdown to Irving Fryer. So that is what I don't necessarily see that being the case. I think in the first half, the Patriots will feel like they are somewhat in this game, but I think the Seahawks do pull away after halftime.
Yeah, maybe they start off the second half with the Shaheed kick return touchdown. So pay attention to those prop bets, guys. Who wins that coin toss? How long's the national anthem? I mean, they're all out there. Have some fun, all right? Pay attention to those things. It really adds more to the game itself.
Who knew the coin toss is 50-50?
Yeah. Beats
Oh,
me.
nice.
just
Remember
like who's going to win this game?
there
50-50.
should be a 1% for neither. Because I remember there was that coin flip where it literally landed like right in the middle. I had to redo it.
Indent right in the
There should
grass.
be a 1%. Yeah,
Point one.
Point
Point one.
yeah, 0.1. Yeah.
There we go. So
Odds are plus 30,000.
well, we appreciate you guys tuning in to this very special Super Bowl special here on the Snap Count Show. And this is not the end of the Snap Count Show. We've got plenty more after this Super Bowl. So we're only getting started. And if you are a football fan that has been a seasoned football fan or you're just getting started, I urge you to keep watching this show as we are going to be providing a lot of great material, especially heading into this draft. So please stay tuned for that. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button and share these videos with those that you know online and everywhere. And also let us know your thoughts and your predictions in the comments section. But until next time, guys, that's the final whistle. We will catch you next week.